Hey folks, got a great video for you today, and one that, well, it may sound too good to be true. I surely thought it was when I first heard about it, but let's get going. Welcome, I'm the RV Wingman. I help you avoid making some major league boo-boos and help connect you with the most honest RV dealers in the country. So let's talk about RV insurance and insurance companies. If you already have a pretty low opinion of the insurance industry, well, this story isn't going to raise it. Nancy and her husband are full-time RVers. They were watching TV in their rig in a campground when a drunk driver nailed their slide. Now, the repairs were only half the story. She also got paid a significant amount for diminished value and loss of use, which is money that most RV owners leave on the table because nobody tells them it even exists. If you own a motorhome or a high-end towable, or you know someone who does, please share this video with them. There's no telling how much cash insurance companies are quietly keeping from folks who simply don't know today's topic. Now, during the interview, you're going to see a QR code come up on the screen, kind of like this one over here. If you point your phone at it, it will connect you directly with the folks who helped Nancy and her husband. If you prefer to click on a link, it is in the description down below. Now, do me a favor if you would, hit like, subscribe, and turn your notifications on for honest, no-nonsense RV wisdom, and drop me a comment below. And let me know your thoughts on today's video about diminished value. All right, let's get to it. It is so nice to meet you. Finally, I know we spoke on the phone that one time and we communicated almost, gosh, it was last year, but you've got a story that is so positive, at least I think it is. My question before we even get started, are y'all better off today than you were a year ago?
Yes, sir.
Financially and emotionally and everything else?
Yes. Yes, we are. We are. We started out on a really bad situation, and it turns out that sometimes curses are a blessing in disguise. You just have to you have to look deeper sometimes and recognize that if this didn't happen, other things might not have happened either.
Yeah, so you got to take the good with the bad. But let's talk about the backstory for you and your husband. Let's go back to 2024. Don't have to give the dates, but what happened? Explain what happened and how you and I got connected, Nancy.
Okay. We live in our RV full time. I work remotely, and it was a Sunday night. We were sitting just watching a movie, getting ready to get in bed, get ready for the week. And all of a sudden, our slide wall came crashing in on us. And my husband got caught between the furniture, and I went darting out the door to see what was the matter. And it turns out that someone had had a little too much at a party and mistaken the road we are on for the exit. And when they put it into reverse to correct their mistake, they floored it into our slide wall. So that was not a good Sunday night.
So
But
I would assume, I don't want to go into too much detail, but I would assume the first thing you did, besides kind of like what the hell's going on, you contacted your insurance agent and swapped insurance cards and things did not
well,
go.
not exactly at the time. He decided he didn't want to hang around to deal with what he did, so he took off initially, and it was a long evening to get him, and it was several days before I was able to get his information at all, just due to the circumstances. He was basically a puddle by the time they got him, and they couldn't get any information, and he didn't have anything with him, and so on. So
Now, this was his fault. Am I right by
yeah.
saying that?
Yes,
So,
we were parked and sitting still. We weren't moving. We weren't changing positions. We were living. And he ran into us when he was backing up to try to go a different direction because he realized where he had gone was just a dead end. It wasn't the exit that he thought he was going for. And when he backed up, because he was inebriated and also mad because he had been tearing around the streets of the park trying to find the exit, and he was going pretty fast when he hit us because he floored it, and it just came right back into us and just shifted our whole RV.
So I know y'all had insurance, but did he have insurance too? And how let's get into what happened with the claim. Not too deeply, but there was apparently a pretty big surprise in a positive way, but I don't want to get to the surprise yet for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So um, I don't know how all of it works, and there was a lot going on. So I went and I sought out an attorney, not because I'm a sue kind of person, but just, this is a complex situation, and you always want to get good advice. And emotions run high, and rather than dealing with things yourself, it's better to get professional help when you can. Um, so initially, it appeared that everything was going to fall on my insurance, that this person who hit us did not have any insurance. And the last policy that they initially found was just barely enough to get it on the road. They didn't find any coverage. And initially, we got it in. It took us a long time to find someone to tow our unit because the slide was twisted and it was stuck out. And it's a 32-foot unit, and it took us like 2.5 weeks just to be able to find someone to take our RV to get it repaired anywhere. And even during that time, going and consulting with the lawyer, they were looking for what coverage he might have. And I don't know the backstory, but we didn't get the person's information at the time of the accident. And I was more concerned about my husband than anything. And I probably could have started things sooner if I would have followed up more in that direction, but I just relied on things to come, the police department to get their information, put it in the report, and so on. So it took longer than it might usually, because it seemed like he was ducking getting his information found, because in the end we found out that he has really very good insurance.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I thought you said it was he only had the minimal, minimal
That
coverage.
was initially what they had told us, but there was something, like I said, I don't, and this has nothing to do with me and you meeting, but for the particular scenario, it seems like there was something in the background shuffling around, and he was trying to hide things.
Okay. So the attorney, I'm not trying to bash attorneys, but the attorney, your experience with the attorney led you and I to get connected. Talk about that, because I really don't know. I actually looked it up just a little bit before we started talking. You sent me an email. It was last year. And it seemed like at that point you were frustrated, but what was going on, and what happened once you and I got connected?
Right. Well, because of the damage to our RV, we had to be out of it for it to be fixed. And um, that meant that we had to put all of our belongings in storage because we are full-time RVers. And then we had to go find accommodations where we could live while it was being fixed. And it took a significant amount of time to get it fixed. And we were having to pay that out of pocket for a hotel. We tried to find other RVs to rent and so on. And there was just, price wise, there was just nothing available. And so I had asked my attorney about the fact, my first question was about diminished value, because our RV is not brand new, but it was in excellent condition with no issues at all before it was hit in this accident. And it had been, properly maintained and so on. And so I wanted something compensated for that diminished value. And at the initial time, they were still working on our insurance, and somehow they tried to tell me that wasn't available because our insurance would be paying it or something like that. Again, that's why I went to a lawyer instead of doing it myself. And I also asked about loss of use, because we are full-time RVers and our policy is supposed to support us if we are out of our unit.
Right.
And they didn't have any knowledge or information about that they could give me. And I really just did not gain any confidence about leaving that portion of our case in their hands. They did not know some simple RV terminology that just about anyone who's worked on any type of damage case should know right off the top of their head. And that's not to say any overall, I'm not saying the lawyer is bad. There's just simply they're uneducated about this, and I don't know what the reason is because this is their job.
Okay,
However,
okay. So let me. I appreciate you spending some time with me. I really do. And there's we could talk for a long time about this, but this you mentioned diminished value. Until you and I spoke, I never really even heard of diminished value. Can you
mhm,
explain? I know now you have some experience with it, but explain what that means as a
mhm.
as an RVer.
Right. Okay, so when you buy an RV, we all know there's that initial depreciation, whether whatever you buy. It's brand new, you walk out the door, boom, 10, 15, 35% gone of what it's worth. You can't sell it for what you just paid for it, even if you paid cash. So when you buy a new item, you can't even 5 minutes later, you can't turn around and sell it for how much you just paid for it because now it's not new anymore. There's depreciation. Okay. So it's not as valuable as it was when it was brand new. Beyond initial diminishment, your depreciation, drive it off the lot, come down. When it's damaged, now it's definitely not worth what it was. So if you needed to sell what you have, you can't get what you could have gotten before the accident because nobody's going to pay that now that they see that something happened to it. Carfax. There's multiple things now where you can type in the VIN number of the vehicle or item you're looking at, and everything that's ever been on the record that's been done to it is right there. And so an RV is not, we are full timers, but an RV is not, it's not a buy one and done. It's not like a house that you can, maintain over a 50 or 60 or, period of time. So there's an expectation in my mind with an RV that you're going to upgrade, you're going to change, you're going to switch for multiple reasons.
So this
Um,
diminished value, hang on just a moment. This diminished value, and by the way, I have talked with the people that you settled with that helped you get a good settlement. From what I understand, that when your RV, even when your RV is repaired after an accident, it's still
mhm,
not worth what it was before the accident, even if the insurance pays it. So the gap between what it was worth before and now what it's really worth when you try to sell a wrecked, repaired motorhome, that gap
mhm.
is the diminished value. And your insurance company, Nancy's insurance company, doesn't have to pay that. They don't pay it, do they?
No, no, you have to, and I do believe that it is broadly available, but the insurance companies are not going to offer it up if and a lot of people concentrate on their physical injuries in accidents where diminished value would imply. Okay, so I mean a minor scratch on your bumper is not going to get you a diminished value claim, but if they have to fix the whole front quarter panel of whatever it is, or 30% of whatever it is that's being fixed, that is going to significantly affect the ongoing value of whatever that is. And so most people simply don't pursue it. And insurance companies get to keep all of that money that they would have to pay if people asked, hey, um, now my $10,000 unit is only worth 7,000. I'd like $3,000, please. Um, no one knows to ask. And
But
of
hang
course,
on.
they're not going to offer it up.
But that's where you and I got connected, and I connected you with Scott O'Neill, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what he does. That's what his
Exactly.
so what was it like when they first when you guys got connected? I don't know if you called him or he called you. Whenever you guys got connected, what was the overall feeling, the conversation? What was that like, and then what was the overall takeaway after that initial conversation you guys had?
Well, initially I thought, yeah, right. I'm going to just give you this, and you're going to call this person, and a few months from now, I'm going to get money. Uh huh. I don't believe it. But, you know, they offered to help. They didn't charge me anything up front. It was a very simple, straightforward terms. They laid it all out. You give us the information that we ask for, we do all the work, and in the end, you get your part and we get our part, and we go our merry way. Like I said, sounded too good to be true. But I was hopeful, but skeptical. So basically, he asked me for any information that I had. He asked me to keep him posted on the repairs on our unit, how they were going, and let him know when it was complete, and make sure to get as detailed of an invoice as possible. Keep track of any expenses that we had that we wouldn't normally have, just day-to-day living, for the hotel, the accommodations, storage, the rental truck to move the stuff between storage, all of those kinds of things. And he explained that basically what they do is they put all of that together, and they have knowledge and experience, and probably some programs and things like that. And they go after getting you made somewhat whole for the inconvenience of not being able to utilize your item. In our case, it happened to be our home, but also that depreciated value that was out of your control.
Is this something that you could have done on your own? I mean, do you think this is easy, or is this something that because to me, I'm just saying that from an outsider's point of view, it's while I could learn how to do it, it's like, why take the chance when somebody like Scott, and who has a team of, they work with lawyers and all that, they do it all. And if they don't get any money, it didn't cost you anything.
Exactly. And honestly, I'm pretty savvy about researching things. I mean, honestly, I can't recall where I first heard that term diminished value, but it popped in my head the minute I looked at my RV and saw that my slide was crashed in, and this guy had taken off, and I had no idea whether he was going to come back, they were going to find him or anything. I was like, holy crap, what am I going to do now? But no, I don't think, not that someone couldn't do it on their own, but I don't think that they would have the level of outcome. I don't think that they would have, I don't think they would have as successful of a recoupment as what Scott was able to get for us. Multiple reasons: experience, knowledge, knowing what they'll cut out and put on you. Because an individual could probably go and bring this up with the insurance company, and they'd get something out of it by turning some stuff in. But I don't think that they would know where to turn the screws to really squeeze it out.
Did Scott's the lawyers, they knew how to push the at fault insurance company to write a pretty good check? Or I mean, I'm not trying to get too nosy, but
right. No, they knew. We had, and this is something that's very important. I feel like, and Scott can probably discuss more in detail how this played in to what they were able to do for us. But one thing that happened with us, like I told you, initially it took almost 2 weeks to find a tow truck to even get our RV to the repair place. So the first 2 weeks, nothing was being done to it. Okay, so then, because they were working with my insurance company, not the other driver, initially there was a big problem with how much they were going to allow for the paint damage to our unit. We have full body paint, multicolor, metal flecking, fading in and out, no decals, just full body multi-layered paint, of course, And so the pricing that they were getting for repairing that paint was a sticking point. And when I say a sticking point, I want to say weeks, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And that is when I reached out to you, because I had almost lost all faith in my attorney, because I'm like, what is going on? We are 9 weeks into this and you haven't touched it, because you're arguing about paint that comes at the end. What's going on? That's when I reached out to you. And then once I talked to Scott, I understood what was going on. I understood where my injury lawyer was coming from and things of that sort. And that's when when I started digging for the information to provide for Scott, that's when we discovered the other driver's insurance.
That's awesome. That is,
Yes.
so, okay.
And the
Hang on. So have you got your check? I mean, you guys are,
yes,
you're
yes,
done.
we did.
And so
I got it.
you're
I'm
happy.
going to the bank tomorrow.
Oh, well, good. So,
And it's on a trust account, and I have done my due diligence to make sure that it's not one of those things that when you put it in the bank, it sucks all your money out.
so
All of that.
it's legit.
It's legit.
What have your friends, when you've explained this and you said, look, this is what we got? I mean, I would imagine you've shared some good news because you were excited when you got the check. What do they say? Were they, oh yeah, that happens all the time? Or were they surprised?
They were like, how you got what for what? They're like, no. Are you really got a check? I'm like, yep, got it in my hand. I said, and my lawyer didn't, he didn't seem, not Scott, but my injury lawyer didn't really seem interested in looking further into it. He didn't have any information, readily available to me when I asked about it. And again, it started with the diminished value. But yeah, Scott was excellent, and it was exactly as he said. I gave him all the information on from both sides, the repair place information, the receipts, and everything, and he was fabulous. And I will say, as a piece of advice for people who might go through this, keep track of every little thing. Go buy yourself a little notebook at the dollar store and start writing down everything that happens. And every time you open your wallet that you would not have had to open had your accident not happened, write it down. Put those receipts in an envelope and send them to Scott.
Wow. Wow.
He will.
Do you think that this is there's a lot of people out there like you and your husband that had no idea? Because it sounds like to me that if you and I would not have connected,
Mm-hmm.
you would not, I mean, I'm not going to ask you for how much the settlement was, but it was five
It was
figures.
worth it. It was more than worth it.
Okay. And so I just wonder how big this is. How many people are out there with a motorhome or expensive RV? Because getting them repaired is not cheap. And somebody,
No, it's not. It's not. And if you have an older RV, you're looking at them having to substitute because they don't make that style anymore, and now you've got to redo this and that. All of those extenuating things that would not have happened had your accident not happened. Just try to keep track of those. And I don't want to speak out of turn, but I really, as a client, I really feel like if I would have actually had screenshots of the comparable properties that I tried to find before we went to a hotel, and I would have had more text and email support for the time that they had to keep it because of the paint argument, I do believe that our settlement would have been even more in our favor for everything that we had to go through. But I didn't have anything but my word to back certain things up. And so again, if something happens, you're not going to be thinking about today's details 9 months from now, 10 months from now, a year and a half from now. That's where we're at. June 2nd was our accident date, June 2nd of 2024. And it's just now, this part of it is just now settling out in the last couple of weeks. So you won't remember those things that you have to do unusual down the road when it's time to turn everything in and say, okay, compensate me for all the extra that I had to deal with. So if you can collect it as you go, it's going to be more to your benefit. The more information that you can keep, and just keep in mind that, they're going to compare the during time, if you will, that you're out of your unit to your usual lifestyle. So, that's not just because it's there. That's not to say you can go and claim any and everything and come up with some story. But Scott and his team are very versed.
What are your thoughts on insurance companies now? I mean, generally speaking, I mean, seriously, I mean, I don't know if anybody loves their insurance company. They like getting a check if they need one, but when you
It's
don't even know I'm sorry, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but when the public doesn't even know that there's a
exactly. And the other side of that, it's like, again, I went to a lawyer, and it's a fairly, I don't want to say the name because we're still dealing with things and all of that. But um we went to a fairly large, experienced, reputable law firm, and they only had a scattered knowledge of diminished value potential. So if I would have asked them to do the diminished value, do I trust that they would have got my loss of use? No, I don't. They wouldn't even have went after it. It was a foreign term to them.
and plus
And
you're
as a
paying
full-time RVer, I'm like, what? How is
and
that?
you're
But it,
paying for their time also.
right, right. And I think, I do believe that that is probably a universal problem with injury lawyers in general.
I'm going to try to wrap this up here
Mhm.
in the next couple of minutes. What I'm hearing from you is number one, this is real.
Yes,
If you have been injured, or if your RV's been injured, at fault driver by the other party, contact Scott and let him do the work, because he will do it for a piece of the action. He does everything,
exactly.
and that's the number one. Contact Scott. Number
Right.
two is to, and really important, is keep every receipt, every expense, like you said, from day one, because over months and months and months, it adds up to a lot of money.
Yes, it does. And like I said, the insurance companies are obligated to pay it. They know it, but they're not going to volunteer it. And um, it is one of those niche things that it might actually be a benefit that Scott is specializing in this, because it is unique. It does drill down to literally the day to day of your life, and you need to have someone who understands at that level what they're arguing for, and what to argue with, and how far to push it. And I feel like they really advocated for us very, very well. And we are ecstatic over our results.
I'm just glad that you and I had an opportunity to connect, because he sent me, what happened was, I mean, I may have already shared this with you, but weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago, he sent me an email and mentioned, something about somebody I had introduced him to, and I, quite frankly, I couldn't really remember. And then he did it. He sent another email, and I thought, who is this person? Oh, I remember this. And then that's when you and I connected. And I said, is this guy for real? Because everything
Yeah,
sounds like a scam, Nancy. It's like, I don't trust anybody.
exactly. But yeah, they it's real. It is real. And
All right. Well,
we're doubly blessed, because if this accident wouldn't have happened, we would not have had to get some imaging for my husband, and he wouldn't probably be here now, because he had some health issues that were not showing up in any symptoms, and they weren't related to the accident. But they, multiple of them, would have taken him by now if we wouldn't have had this accident. So we're blessed in that it happened, because it helped us make his life better. And now we're also blessed because we were able to reach out to Scott and share our situation and scenario with him. And it turns out that it's real. They, they're, I'm sure that there's many people who could benefit from a phone call to Scott, because um, he's immediately open and willing to answer any question that you might have, explain to you just exactly how whatever it is might affect your scenario, um, even pitfalls, things that might go wrong, ways that it might not work out for you. And if he feels like, yeah, you're probably really not, there's not really anything to get for you, or that kind of thing, he's going to be the first to tell you. So I just really, I can't recommend them enough.
Yeah, well, when he and I visited, he seems like a real honest guy. I'm just a and very experienced too, very
Yes.
knowledgeable about insurance companies. So
Yes, yes, and he has, and that experience has built him contacts with the insurance carriers. They know, oh gosh, Scott's helping this person out. They know that, the Geico person, the Allstate person, the whoever your insurance is with, they know when Scott's on the line. They know what the expectation is, and that experience also, I think, is something you couldn't do. You couldn't get that result on your own because you don't have that behind you with those insurance payers like Scott does.
well, I want to thank you again, Nancy, for spending some time with me and sharing this because it's
Sure.
so often, we hear these negative stories and there's a lot of negative things to talk about. But when you have something as positive as yours, financially it was very beneficial. It sounds like for you guys, but it was more than that. It was the blessing that came from a horrible accident
Yeah.
that that now in retrospect, I guess you look back and you say, thank you, Lord, for
Every day. And that's why I'm so happy to talk to you and share this. I'm not, as you can probably tell, I'm not a get on camera person. I'm not a glamour puss or anything like that. But people need to know because honestly, even our RV repair shop, who's been in business for 30 years, did not know.
you're kidding me. They didn't know
Did
about.
not know.
So what do you think? Pretty awesome, right? Repairs will fix metal and fiberglass and paint, but diminished value and loss of use helps fix the financial damage. And I'm telling you, folks, it can be substantial. As I said earlier, if you think that the insurance company plays it straight, well, this video probably did not improve that opinion. I sure hope you'll share this video with other RVers, especially motorhome owners and folks who own high-end towables. If one family gets paid what they're owed because you passed the video along, I say that's a big win. If you want the same contacts Nancy used, scan the QR code you see over here on the screen or click the link in the description down below. And while you're here, please tell me in the comments if you've ever tried this or if an insurer has ever even mentioned it. Make sure you subscribe for more campfire wisdom and check my RV Wingman resource page for trusted dealers, lemon law help, and problem RV support. Be safe, have fun, play nice, and don't leave your good manners at home.